January 31st, 2019. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 173 of You Can Bet On That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet On That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
Now, I've got a quote from Richard Munchkin, Blackjack Hall of Famer, co-host of the excellent Gambling with an Edge podcast.
Yes.
And I'm paraphrasing here. I'm not exactly sure this is exactly what he said, but he said every game in the casino is beatable under the right circumstances.
Yeah, under the right circumstances is...
Now, it almost seems like, well, yeah, okay, of course, under the right circumstances.
Yeah, under the right circumstances, I play in the NBA and make $10 million a year.
But I think the point that he really is trying to make is don't look at a game and just assume there's no way to beat it.
Right.
Right? Maybe there is.
Things could happen.
Right. And sure enough, we've got one of these stories, and unbelievably, it's about craps.
Yes.
And we're telling this story now because this play is dead. We've held off on talking about it on the show.
Right. We couldn't mention it for the last, month or so,
It's
right?
been several episodes, where we have. But here's what happened. So fairly recently, real craps was introduced to Oklahoma.
Dice craps.
Right, dice craps and real roulette with a ball. Uh-huh. Previous to that, some of the casinos were dealing those games using cards. And the law came down basically legalizing real craps and real roulette. Now, since it's Oklahoma, players still have to pay an ante to play the game. But otherwise, the games, it's real craps, real roulette.
Stupid Oklahoma.
Yeah, right. Well, we got an email from listener Taylor. He went to the Riverwind Casino near Oklahoma City, where they had just introduced craps. They had not had the card craps before.
Right. So they had never had a craps table.
Nothing like it. So craps was completely new to the casino. And as Taylor was playing, he noticed that the crew was allowing players to decrease their pass line bet after a point had been established.
Okay.
All right. Now, they wouldn't let you completely take your bet down, but you could decrease it.
To probably the minimum.
Probably the minimum. We never did find out exactly, how much you could start with and how much you could reduce it to. But that's a huge edge for the player to be able to do that, because once a point's been established, chances are that bet is going to lose.
Right. You're at a disadvantage no matter what the point is.
Right. You want a lot out there on the come-out roll when 7-Eleven wins for you.
Right.
More ways to win than lose automatically. On
right.
That.
Exactly.
So he continued to play, and then he noticed that they were allowing players to make a don't pass bet after a point had been established.
So on a number that had already been rolled, you could make a don't pass on that number where you clearly have the advantage.
You would be paid even money for a wager that is more likely to win than to lose. All right? Let's talk about how huge this was. All right? If the point were 6 or 8, you could make that don't pass bet. And again, you make the bet, and if a 7 comes up, you'll win. If a 6 comes up, you'll lose. In the case of a 6, even money, right? Even though there are more ways to roll a 7 than a 6.
Right.
So if the point were 6 or 8, you would have a little over a 9% edge over the house. If the point was 5 or 9, you'd have a 20% edge over the house.
Yeah.
And if it was 4 or 10, you'd have a 33% edge over the house.
You need to be sitting there, please come up 4, as opposed to us who are always like, 4.
Yeah, come out on a 4 so I can make my bet. Yeah. How in the world did this get by? There's so many people that are involved in setting up a craps game, all the way to the top, right? The casino manager, dealers, and nobody knew enough about the game to realize that the house is going to lose in the long run.
Well, that's the thing that gets me. There had to be somebody, probably a dealer there who's played craps before, knew the rules, and would think to themselves, we can't allow that. We're going to lose money.
Yeah. Or maybe some dealers realized it and just didn't say anything.
They're calling all their friends, get over here now.
Exactly. But so many people, pit bosses are allowing a casino. So it's really mind-boggling that this even got this far. and that Taylor was able to take advantage of it for at least a little while. He let us know this last week that it's over now.
Right.
And, they're
Well, you would think that, like, say, the casino floor boss, who's in charge table games boss, would be familiar with all the games, right? He would have played craps before.
You'd think so.
He probably came from some kind of other place, some other job where he worked in a casino, and you'd think that'd be the guy that, like, well, no, we can't do that.
That's the thing, was everybody who was working in the casino dealing with craps, were they all completely brand new to the game?
I think it's some kind of ruse, Mark. It's some kind of ruse like, well, we'll let them win a lot of money. They'll be hooked here for life. And in the long run, we're going to take all their money.
All right. Yeah, it's a loss leader to get them in the door,
it's a loss leader. It's like, buy Cheerios and you get, a can of milk with it or something, right?
Well, plays are still out there. Advantage plays like that. And I'll tell you, the amazing thing about this play, too, is that you didn't need to have any skill.
It went on for a few weeks.
Whenever at
right.
least.
No, and you're not pulling anything over on the casino if they let you do it, right?
That's right. They're letting you do it.
It's not like, you're somehow some sleight of hand or something. I mean, you're just doing what they want you to do, right?
This thing was so lucrative. Here's the thing. We talked about, oh my gosh, we should go to Oklahoma. But of course, there's no guarantee that once we got there, it would still be going on, right? And then, we're in Oklahoma and it's like, that's fine. At least we finally get to an Oklahoma casino, but not for the reason.
The funny thing is, if I had been there, I would have just bet the table max on the pass line, when we're coming out.
Gotcha.
And then after the point was made,
reduce it to the minimum on the pass line and then bet the max on
and then bet the max on the don't pass.
That probably would have caught a lot of attention. I was thinking what I would probably do is maybe $100 at least to start with on the don't pass, and then maybe place the 6 and 8 for like $6 just to, kind of cover that.
This guy's got an odd system. He wants $100 no 9 and he wants a $6 6 and 8.
Now, you still had to pay the ante, which is like $1 on every come-out roll. But still, if you're with this edge you have over the house,
crazy. I mean, and then maybe you make a 3-way crap bet just in case, right?
Anyway, that's gone now. But keep your eyes out, folks. These things, you never know when they're going to come out.
That's an amazing thing. And it went on for a good month.
It went on for a little while. I don't know how much Taylor was able to take advantage of it, but
I'm sure there were people who did.
Yeah, not just Taylor. And that's why we didn't mention it, because not just Taylor, but who knows who might have come across it, and we didn't want, to give too much away. We wanted it to go, let it go.
We wanted the casino to figure it out for themselves.
That's right.
For a change.
They're big boys. We got an email from listener Matthew. So a few weeks back, DraftKings put on what they call the Sports Betting National Championship, where participants paid $10,000 to enter, and they made wagers on the NFL divisional championship games. And then whoever was like the top however many people, they won this contest money. And I guess what it was $5,000 went to the prize pool, and then $5,000 went into each person's account, and that's what they bet with.
So they were wanting people to make bets.
Yeah, so that money was real, and they got to keep any winnings from that. So that was real.
And DraftKings got to keep any losings.
That's exactly. Now, there was a little controversy at the end because the person who had the lead going into the last game of the weekend wasn't able to make wagers on that last game. They hadn't credited his account, or there was some delay. And so the game started, and he couldn't make any bets at that point because the game had already started. So
what happened?
Well, so he ended up coming in, I can't remember, it was maybe like third place or something like that. And
well, that's terrible.
It's still, Tim and Eric did a good job talking about it on one of the recent episodes of The Better Life. So go back and listen to that.
Listen to that one. I didn't. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a good idea. I don't really like the name Sports Betting National Championship.
Okay.
Because they're betting on NFL games.
Well, I think this was a first shot at it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they should have called it, NFL. Well, maybe they couldn't do that because the NFL.
Right.
But they should have called it something different, because National Championship, I think that should be like a year-long thing.
Well, see, that's the thing. Is
where you have to bet so many baseball, so many basketball, so many this, that, categories.
Right. And this is actually what Matthew was asking in his email, is what we thought about this kind of thing, where it's actually a competition. There's an added prize pool. Do you think it'll make a difference? Do you think it'll catch on? Do you think it'll help sports betting and spreading across the country, or will it not really matter that much? Or, is it kind of out of some people's budget?
Let me put it this way. There are 7 billion people on the planet.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
6 billion of them are just waiting to bet. right?
6 billion, you said, of the 7 billion.
6 billion of the 7 billion are just dying to bet on something. So yeah, I think it'll do just fine if they have that.
Yeah, I like your idea of kind of a year-long thing or a whole season, but with stuff like that, there's not the immediacy. It's hard to kind of hype that kind of thing when it's going that long. If it's just over one weekend, like maybe the first round of the
NCAA tournament.
Right. Something like that, and then a win.
Well, but think about this. They could have a national championship for NBA basketball. Mm-hmm. And all season long, you can bet. When you run out of money, you're out.
Yeah.
And just keep it going all year and then have the playoffs and the championship game be weighted more or something.
Yeah, I still think it's just it'd be so long that
it might be hard to get
excited.
Casual people.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, right?
The more hardcore guy is going to love that.
They're going to do stuff like that anyway. So I don't know that it'll really make that much difference. I think that companies will continue to do it,
right?
Because people will enter.
Well, it generates interest.
Yeah, right. If anything, it's PR for them.
Yeah, it's PR for them. But also, if some guy enters that. Maybe not for 10,000, but let's say they had one that was like $1,000.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, you're putting in $1,000. Well, some casual guy, he loves football or something. Oh, I'll try $1,000 and he'll do it. And then maybe he gets interested enough that, next year he bets all season long. It's great for DraftKings, right? Yeah. Stuff like that where they're generating interest. They're getting the guy who maybe didn't think about sports betting so much.
And if it's all online, it really does not cost the companies anything.
Probably,
it's just money in their pockets.
Probably nothing, right? Yeah. I mean, a few IT guys.
Right. Once they iron out the bugs.
Right. Yeah. That guy really got ripped off.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. And it's kind of ongoing. Apparently, he was pretty good-natured about it, but,
But I mean, if there's a computer glitch, which that's one of the things that I hate about computers.
The glitches?
The glitches. I mean, because sometimes they're just, a little glitch, nothing. And sometimes it's like really bad and it can, screw your life up.
That's very true, Dr. Mike.
Stupid computers.
All right, well, speaking
dumbest Thursdays.
They're not that bad, Mike. Thursdays are so stupid.
Thursdays are the stupidest.
Stupid. Well, speaking of screwing up your life, let's talk about kind of an interesting lawsuit here. So there's a dealer who has brought a whistleblower lawsuit against Hollywood Casino Joliet. And I think it's kind of interesting. So let's talk about this a little bit. So Cody Gregory was working as a craps dealer at Hollywood Casino in November 2017. And a player made a $5 fire bet for himself, along with a $1 bet for the dealers. Something we do all the time, right? So the fire bet hit all 6 points, and the player was given his $5,000, but the casino manager at the time would not pay the $1,000 to the dealers.
Now, why is that?
Unknown. And again, all this information is coming from this woman's lawsuit. So all you out there in podcast land, you're hearing about it from us.
Right.
We're hearing about it from the media.
Right.
They're getting it from the lawsuit. And of course, a lawsuit is not going to necessarily be the truth.
Right.
You're going to put in a lawsuit what you want.
Right, exactly. So, I think they call that hearsay. I'm not an attorney.
No, I'm not either.
I think it's all hearsay.
Anyway, so as soon as this happened, as soon as the $1,000 was not given to the dealers, Cody went to the Illinois Gaming Board office at Hollywood Casino. They have an office right there.
Right, on her break.
On her break to tell them what had happened. That office is staffed by Illinois State Police.
Oh, God.
And they told her to keep the situation confidential, and they promised they would investigate.
And then they ordered 3 orange whips.
Yes. So several days later, Cody found out that the casino had gone ahead and paid the dealers the $1,000 tip. Now, again, at least in everything that I've read about this, there's no indication why the manager didn't provide the tip right away or what prompted them to do it eventually. All right. The reason that she's filed the lawsuit is because she claims she was fired as retaliation by the casino for her going to the Illinois Gaming Board.
Right.
And here's one of the reasons Cody got fired, according to the casino, at least.
This is their story.
Yeah. But again, this is also in the lawsuit. Okay, so this last November, so about a year after the events we already talked about.
No, so now we're talking November 2018.
Mm-hmm, right. Cody was supervising a craps game. And during the game, one of the dealers marked the wrong point. It was a come out roll and the dealer marked the wrong point. We see that all the time.
That happens a lot.
It's not that uncommon. Well, apparently, Hollywood Casino has this big old procedure for when the wrong point is marked. where they have to stop the game and call surveillance. Now, right there, that to me is just so stupid because I've never heard of that, number one. Number two, usually the other dealer on the other side of the table
has marked
the correct one. And even if they haven't, it's like the stick to, oh no, it was a 6.
Yeah, the stick should be able to remember that.
How controversial it really is that.
Yeah, right.
But whatever, that's their policy. Well, the casino says she didn't follow the protocol and that instead she colluded with the dealers to continue the game. Oh, no, point was safe.
What do the dealers have? Did somebody have a huge bet on the point?
This is all in the lawsuit. And the next day she was fired.
Okay.
All right. So I think it's an interesting story.
Well, it's pretty obvious that the casino decided, let's wait a year, exactly a year. November next year, we'll get her on something.
See, here's the thing. How much information is being left out?
Right.
You know, what don't we know? Were there other things that she did?
Right.
Was she difficult to work with? Was it... who knows, right? Why wasn't the tip given initially?
Right.
Or maybe she misunderstood. I mean, because why wouldn't it be given?
Right. Why wouldn't it be given? It sounds to me like there's way more to this story.
Way more.
Because first of all, why did she immediately go to the gaming control board? Why wouldn't she just go to her supervisor and say, well, why didn't you pay this?
Yeah.
And if he gives her a good reason, like, oh, that wasn't there initially or something, then investigate it. Why just go to the board?
We could speculate all we want. Maybe say, well, we're not going to drop that 1,000. And then she ran away from the table and he continued, because we don't have enough chips right now. We're going to get a fill and then we'll put the 1,000.
Right.
So who knows what's going on? But you're right. A year later, as retaliation, that seems a little strange.
That seems very strange.
We'll see if we hear the end of this story or not.
And in any workplace related problem, there's always two sides to every story.
Yeah.
And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Mm-hmm. The casino's probably at fault somehow, and she's probably at fault somehow,
It's
too.
very possible. I remember there was a pit boss. I'm not going to mention his name, obviously, but he used to work at Harrah's, and then we saw him out at Hollywood.
Right.
And he was the kind of guy who he'd come up to us and complain about things that were going on at the casino.
He would complain about higher ups at the casino.
Yeah, and I'm
people
thinking,
he worked for.
how come we don't hear these complaints from other people, right? Maybe, you're at least partially to blame here.
Yeah, right. It takes two to tango, and I'm sure in that case, I know that he was difficult.
He was a difficult person to work with. Yes,
right.
yes, yeah. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right, let's move on to our voicemail hotline segment. Remember, call our hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
And maybe we will play your clip on the show. First call is from Adam.
Hey guys, this is Adam from Connecticut. Just calling to give you a report on the MGM Springfield rooms. I stayed up there earlier this week for the first time ever. I got a really good deal and had a group outing with some friends from work, and we were drinking a lot, so I said, you know what, let me cash in on this room deal. So got the room. It was beautiful. By far one of the best hotel rooms I've ever stayed in. I'm really big on the shower. If the shower in a hotel sucks, that kind of feeds for the rest of my stay there. And this was the single best shower I've ever taken in my life was in this room. They're relatively decent size. They've got some nice dark wood paneling, and the decor is all Springfield related, which I think is pretty cool. They tied in a lot of details into the history of Springfield to really make it a local casino. The other thing I wanted to call you about was to ask you if you guys have ever taken a break from craps after a few horrendous sessions. My last few sessions, including the ones on that overnight stay, have just been pretty terrible. I won a few bucks, but it was just so up and down, it was almost demoralizing. And then this last trip that I went on, the last session that I had was just awful. I mean, nobody the entire night hit more than 1 point. And I do have my backup game of poker, which, that's really the game that got me into the casino in the first place, where I started to learn a little bit more about craps. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to take a break from craps, give it a little cool down period, and just grind some poker, bring it back to my old school days, and hopefully make up for some of the losses that I got on my last crap session. Just wondering if you guys had any in the same. All right, I'll hear you guys on Thursday.
Yeah.
I believe, Now, if my memory serves me correct, we did take a break. Remember, it was a Thursday?
Yeah.
It was that Thursday.
I'm not going to play on a Thursday. They're so stupid.
It was a Thursday, and we took a break from craps, and then Friday we were back at it.
Honestly, Adam, taking a break is a good idea. Now, all joking aside, Mike and I go out and play so often that, yes, we've taken a break, but maybe the break was 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks.
Right.
But, hey, we know what it's like.
Yes.
We know those streaks where you're just shell-shocked, right? You're just, your eyes have glazed over. You can't believe how
Well,
bad
we were
it is.
driving home the other night, and you said to me, now let's remember this, because we're on a heater right
Yeah, we
now.
are.
We're still winning, and we've had a great start to this year. And you said, now let's remember this the next time we're complaining about how bad it was, because we've had those nights where it's like, wait,
Months.
months, yeah, where we played 6 hours of craps some Friday night, and it's like, did anyone make a second point? I mean, it was like, how in the hell does that happen? It's unbelievable that happens. Well, it's also unbelievable that, we've gone a whole month and not lost.
Yeah. So definitely a good idea to take a break. Yes, we've done it. We suggest you do it too, not just for your psyche, but also for your wallet.
Right.
Save
Well, it
some
gives
money,
you time to recover.
Yes.
Number one.
Yep.
And then number two, when you go back, you've kind of forgot about, the losses and everything. And you're probably in a better mood and you're anxious to go again and you're happy instead of like, why am I here?
Right.
Beating yourself up before you even start.
You need to have a good time. And again, taking a break will not change your luck.
No.
It's really
you might lose again.
Yeah,
as
sure.
soon
When
as
you
go
come back, or you might win.
But you probably feel better because you didn't play for a while and your wallet's recovered anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad he mentioned about showers.
Oh, yes.
Because, Adam, I have the same thing. I like a big shower with lots of water pressure.
A lot of pressure.
And hot water.
I like a high faucet, at least high enough so I can get
over
under
your
it.
head.
Right? Yeah.
There's nothing worse than being in a cramped shower where you have to bend over to get the top of your head wet.
Yes.
And you've just lost $5,000 playing craps. You feel like the Jolly Green Giant is on your shoulders while you're showering, right? It's like, come on.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's pretty impressive that he had the best shower of his life.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still waiting for that.
That's good. Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, I'm hoping before I go, I can say, yeah, it was a Wednesday. It was the best shower.
It's not your time, Dr. Mike. You still haven't had the best shower of your life. I'm sending you back. All right, next call.
Hey guys, Ryan from St. Paul area. Wanted to just call in on last week's little road trip my buddy and I took down to Diamond Joe in Worth, Iowa, just south of the Iowa-Minnesota border, about an hour and a half south of the Twin Cities. The reason we went down, they have no limit poker. We don't have that luxury here in Minnesota. And actually they had a bad beat jackpot of over $235,000, which was unfortunately something we didn't hit. But pretty impressive given that it's a small poker room. And even with that big of a jackpot, there was only 5 live games going on while we were there. By the time we left, it was down to 3. And that was on a Friday night. So nothing real earth shattering there, but I was just wondering if you guys have similar poker rooms out in California that also have those bad beats. And if you've ever seen anything quite so small get a bad beat quite so high. Keep up the good work. I'll give you guys a call back next month when I am coming home from Vegas. Enjoy it, guys. Bye.
All right. Yeah, first, let's talk about bad beat jackpots for people who might not be familiar. Right. So a bad beat jackpot is when you've got a really good poker hand, not just a really good one, a great one. Like, oh my gosh, I've never had a hand this good. And you lose, right? Yeah. So, for example, a lot of the bad beat jackpots at the card rooms around here are you have to have a full house, aces full of something, beaten by, say, 4 of a kind or better.
Right.
And in fact, one of the casinos here, you have to have a full house, aces full of jacks or better.
Right.
To get
So there's
beaten.
Only a few hands that,
So it doesn't come up all that often. Right. Now, I contacted Diamond Joe to see what the bad beat was there. And they said that their bad beat is you have to have 4 of a kind or higher beaten
by another 4 of a kind
or higher.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's crazy,
and that's why.
So you've got 4 jacks, and some guy gets a straight flush, and you're like,
yeah, or more likely it's going to be 2 4 of a kinds, right?
Like,
against each other,
a low 4 of a kind, like 2s or 3s. Yeah. Some guy has 8s or something.
Yes.
So when you called, just off to the topic here for a second, how'd they answer the phone?
I just tweeted them.
Oh.
Yeah. No,
God, I'd love to call it the Diamond Joe Casino. Doesn't that sound great, Diamond Joe?
I tweeted him thinking, let's see how good their social media person is. And they got back to me, and I was planning to call if I didn't hear back from them. They said, no, it's 4 of a kind or better beaten. Anyway, that's why the jackpot's so high. I don't know of any card rooms around here where you have to have 4 of a kind.
Well, I've never heard
in
of
Texas Hold'em.
Right.
Now, in other games like Omaha, yes, but just in Texas Hold'em. So that's why it's so
Yeah,
so
I've
high.
never heard of it being that high.
And we've never had, that I know of, jackpots around here that have been that high.
No.
Yeah. No. Now, I do have kind of a funny story. So years ago, I went out to Barona Poker Room with our friends Mark and John, who have come to our home game before, right? We said, hey, let's go out to the casino and play poker. It was back kind of during the poker boom, right, where you could play online. Let's go out to the room.
They were into that for a while.
Yeah, so we went out there and we just played like 3-6 limit Hold'em. We all went to different tables though, because we didn't want to be playing against each other. We thought that. And so Mark, who had never played poker in a card room before, is at a table and all of a sudden I hear, woo! They hit a bad beat jackpot.
Nice.
Now, the way that the jackpot is typically paid off is the person whose hand was beaten gets the majority of the jackpot.
Right.
Say, I don't know, 60% or something like that.
60 or 70%, something like that.
The person who beat that hand, they get, like 20%, something like that.
And the rest of the table splits 10%.
Yeah, so all you have to do is be on a table where this bad beat happens, and you're going to get at least some of it. Right. So Mark was not directly involved in the hand, but he won part of the jackpot, and I've never even been close.
No, I've never even seen one.
Really?
I mean, I've never been on a table and
we haven't,
or been somewhere and seen it.
Yeah,
I mean,
we haven't spent
stories.
that much time in poker rooms.
No, not a lot. Yeah, not a lot. I've had a lot of bad beats on the craps table.
Sure, but I don't think you've won a bad beat jackpot.
No, it's just been bad beats against me.
Yeah,
which I get nothing for.
We'll have to talk to them about that.
We'll have to, see if can we have a bad beat jackpot? Like when I've got a $600 six and it's immediate out, can I get like 200 back?
They might do it for you, Dr. Mike. They bend over backwards for you.
I'll tell you a funny story real quick. So last night I went out there real quick just to get my free play.
Yeah.
And there's only one table and it was full.
Sure.
And one of the players out there, David, who's a friend of ours, he says to me, just have them open another table. And I said, well, they probably don't have enough dealers. It's like a Tuesday night. Yeah. And he's like, no, just ask. They'll do it for you. They'll do it for you. And I thought about it for a second. Then I thought, no, I'm not going to ask him to open it. He's like, oh, there's some other dealers around. They can just close their tables.
You open another table or I am out of here.
Yeah, right.
All right, next call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Mike from Indianapolis. Just want to give you guys a call, give you a quick little report from the Hollywood Casino in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. My brother and I went down there last Saturday, or actually it was Sunday, but playing craps. So we were playing a little bit of the dark side, a little bit of Iron Cross. Anyway, I think I had $10 on the don't pass and had laid $15 in odds. A couple rolls came out, shooter threw a 5, made this point. So I'm like, oh, crap. So the dealers are paying the pass line, paying the pass line. He paid my don't pass, paid odds. So I kind of just looked at it there for a little bit. Then the guy beside me kind of looked over. They, dealers started doing their thing, kind of getting ready for the next come out roll. And so I went ahead and raked my chips in, put a $5 back on the pass line just to make it look a little more like I was playing the pass line. The one guy beside me is like, that was weird. Never seen that before. And the dealer's like, what's that? Somebody tipped. So my brother tipped the dealer. He's like, no, you paid the guys don't pass.
What?
And he's like, oh, what? Really? And I'm like, don't say anything. But I already, collected the money up in the chip stack. The other guy's like, yeah, you paid his don't pass. You should have paid it. The one dealer looked over at the boxman, and the boxman looked up, and he's like, oh well, carry on. So anyway, we ended up losing like $300 each. So they got the money back anyway in the long run. But it was just kind of funny how the guy he was playing, but he wasn't in on my hand calls out that, deal a mistake that hurts the players. So just wanted to give that to you, and hopefully I can get some of the luck you guys have been having, because my luck has been horrible the last 6 months or so, just in a horrible slump at the craps table at blackjack. Anyway, love the show. Call back sometime and talk to you guys later. Thanks.
Well, good for the boxman for just saying, whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's good for him.
That's good.
Terrible on the other player. What the?
Here.
Mike, you deserve a huge winning streak now. For somebody to do that to you, I hope he's on such a heater now. I hope he's got like 2 months of just awesome luck.
I think there are 3 kinds of people when we're talking about this situation. The first kind of person will just kind of look, oh, yeah, I saw what happened there. Good for you.
Yeah.
The other is like, oh, you shouldn't have paid him. And then realizes like, oh, I'm so sorry. Right. It was just and then there's nope, you shouldn't have paid him.
Yeah.
That was wrong. Just kind of the pedantic, that's how it has to be. I'm kind of towards the second or third person, to be honest with you. Just my personality, but I try not to ever do that because, sometimes it really is just a mistake. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to cost you money.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, though. It's happened to us where we've been paid, or more often than not, where they haven't collected our losing bet.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we just let it sit there for a while. And then,
give them a chance.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I never just, grab it real quick and, run away. I just let it sit there. And then after they're already coming out on a new number or something, it's like, oh, I don't need my odds here, I guess.
Yeah, right. I'll just pick them up.
I'll pick these odds up. Yeah. But God, I would have been fuming. That guy. And thank God the pit boss is smart enough to just, whatever.
Yeah, you made a mistake.
And you know what?
That's going to depend on the casino, though, too, right?
Right.
If they really sweat the money, the boxman might be sitting there and saying, hey, I'm sorry, we have to go to the eye in the sky or whatever.
Yeah,
or I'm going to lose my job.
Right. He might go to the eye in the sky.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what. It's good PR, and it's just like Mike said. They get the money in the long run anyway.
Yeah, right.
So then nobody's happy. You don't have Mike punching the other guy out.
Yeah.
Because if I'm the boxer and I'm thinking, well, if my boss says anything, well, I don't want to start a fight.
Right.
Between these 2 guys.
Yeah.
We're going to get their money anyway. It's not like they're going to walk away.
Right. Yes. We have a big enough house edge since we're not letting people put a don't pass bet after a point's been established.
Right.
We've got enough of a house edge that we can make up for that mistake.
Yeah. And it's Thursday. Yeah. So, we're going to win.
Yeah, exactly. Seems to be a running theme on this episode. Hey,
how stupid Thursday is.
Yeah. You know who's next?
Melanie?
Yeah, she is. Here she comes.
Hey there, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Melanie from Colorado calling. Really enjoyed your latest podcast. Lots of good gambling stories. I was in Vegas a few weeks ago. I went to Champagne's, which is a dive bar over on Maryland, not in a great part of town, about 2 miles east of, I think, the Venetian. Apparently this place was on bar rescue. So go in there, pretty sketchy. Fred wanted to check it out. Saturday night. It's full on karaoke night. Somebody brought their own sax. So they're playing their saxophone as they're singing. It was really good. I played video poker at the bar, ended up cashing out for $900. It was really hard for them to scrounge together $900. They paid me in kind of wrinkled, rumpled $20 bills, fit it into my wallet, and then now I'm just been publicly paid in this place that serves $6 old fashions. Anyway, kind of hung out for a while and then made a dash out the back door for my car, and I was fine. Relayed this story to a friend of mine who works down the street at the Sunrise at Yard. She's like, oh yeah, I took care of a girl that got stabbed in the bathroom. Anyway, no stabbings occurred. It was actually a really good time. Check it out. Doug is the owner, and I went back there another day, and he remembered me. He's like, oh yeah, you took me for $900. I'm like, oh wow. Nice people. You want a non-Dr. Mike divey Vegas experience? Really cool. There's a lot of old Vegas vintage photographs. I think there's gold LeMay on the wall. Anyway, it's a hoot. Go in the daylight. I did the second time. Love your show, guys. Bye.
Are we going to Champagne's anytime soon?
Yeah,
Mike?
in the daylight. I like to go in the daylight and watch your back on the way out.
That's a good story.
That's funny. That's funny about them having a hard time paying the $900.
Well, that is a risk when you play those machines at little places like that.
Right.
I've heard stories of, well, we don't have the cash on hand to give you right now. Like, what? How long do I have to sit here? So, keep that in mind.
Yeah, if you want a real big jackpot, it might be rough, really rough.
That's true.
Well, this reminds me of a story. My wife told me that her dad, years ago, there was a tiny little Indian casino not too far from where they lived, along the Mississippi River. Okay. This is the days when it called it a casino, but it was basically a card room.
Right.
Right. So him and his buddies would get together every morning and play euchre or some card game. And they decided after playing some euchre one morning, they'd go down to this little card room and play. So they went down there, and evidently it was house banked games.
Okay.
And I don't know exactly what they were playing. My wife doesn't know, but she said there were 5 of them and they each won a couple $100.
Okay.
So it's like $1,000. And then the next day it closed down.
Really? Wow.
So he swore for years. Now I don't know the particulars of this, but he swears, and my mother-in-law still swears that they put him out of business.
Oh, that's
and he
so
said
great.
it was really small, and they won like $1,000 total. The 5 of them.
They literally broke the bank.
They literally broke the bank. She said it was like someone's living room. It was that big. It was a really small reservation down right on the Mississippi River, and they had a little card room, to make money. And they got hammered that one morning for $1,000.
Oh my gosh! Oh, that's a great story. I'm surprised you've never told me that story.
It's funny. I just didn't think about it till just now. When he said, but he's passed away now. But he would say, "Yeah, I remember we closed down that Indian casino."
You mentioned euchre too. Euchre is a very Midwestern game, very popular in the Midwest. A lot of people probably you've never heard of it. Have you ever played it?
Oh yeah,
I played it a long time ago. Isn't it where Jack is the highest card?
Yeah,
isn't that right? Yeah.
Euchre,
okay,
right.
so I do remember a little bit of it.
They play a lot of euchre and a lot of cribbage.
Oh yeah, I played cribbage
all
as a kid.
The guys would get together in the morning down at it's actually the VFW hall, but in the morning they just serve coffee and donuts or something, right? And so there'd be like 20 guys, 4 at a table, all playing either euchre or cribbage or partnering up, and giving each other a hard time, And so then these 5 guys decide they're going to go down and play at this casino.
Let's wipe them out. That's great. All right, next up is Donald.
Hey, gentlemen. This is Donald from Northern Virginia once again. I appreciate all the love the last couple shows, playing my voicemails. Hopefully this one's informative as well. I don't know where I heard about it. Maybe it's just the YouTube videos, but this American Casino Guide 2019, maybe it's from you guys. I have no idea. But anyway, there is like a bevy of coupons in the back of this thing. And I chose to grab all the ones from Vegas, and I am literally about halfway through cutting these bad boys out. And I'm probably looking at 10 or 12 rather obscure casinos, but they're all in Vegas or in the Vegas area. Tons of free play. Mostly like $10 like match play or free play, free bet or something like that. But you want to take a tour of Vegas, go to all these little obscure casinos, probably make a lot of money off this free play stuff. Anyway, just thought I'd let you know. Hope you guys are well. Bye.
Yeah, American Casino Guide, we've talked about
it. Yeah.
And also Las Vegas Advisor, specifically for Vegas, most of the coupons anyway. You're going to easily make your money back on purchasing these or subscribing to them with all the great coupons that they have. So definitely.
Just as a word of advice, though, to Donald, do not go to Champagne's with your coupon at night.
You're in some trouble.
You're in some trouble. That's a day trip to
You're going to get
Champagne's.
knifed.
Yeah.
They'll cut you.
He probably have one in there. Melanie's picture on there. We got to get back our money.
That's right. All right, next up is Lee.
Hey guys, this is Lee from Northern California. Long-time listener, first-time caller. And I just wanted to send my sentiments about you guys not hitting a royal flush on video poker, because I am now 465 straight days in of playing $100 at my local Indian casino on video poker, and I have still not hit a royal flush. So you guys aren't the only ones. If I get up by over $50, I cash out on video poker, and if I lose 100, I lose 100. So all said and done, I just got my printout for my wins losses from the casino a couple days after New Year's, and was down a little over $17,000 last year.
Ooh.
All from video poker, trying to beat you guys to a royal flush.
Jeez.
Hopefully when I hit it, I will call you guys soon afterward in jubilation. Until then, thanks for your guys' show and all that you do. Thank you.
Lee, I hope you get it before we do.
And I hope you're playing $5 so you can make up your $17,000 when you hit the royal. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'll guarantee this Lee gets it before me.
Oh,
I don't
before
know about
you for sure. Yeah, good.
From before crazy. Last weekend I played my free play. Mark, I must have at least 3 or 4 times had 4 to the royal. And never, I had 3, I draw, I get 1. I did it last night. I had 3, I got 1.
Right. All right, one more call from Tom.
Hi, guys. Great show. I just started listening to your podcast beginning in January, and I started with episode 1, and hopefully I'll get through the end to your latest episode. And I didn't plan on calling until I got done listening to all the episodes. But Dr. Mike said something in the 60 episodes about having to pay taxes on a big win. My question is, why? He's a high-stakes gambler. Why would he not claim his losers? Also, in Vegas, is it different? Do they give you a tax form when you win at the table? Or do they give him the tax form when he went to cash out the chips? Here in Connecticut, our Indian casinos, you are not given the tax form until you actually go to the chips. I won approximately $18,000 a couple of years ago and found this out. If you cash in less than $10,000, you're not given a form. So if you went to 2 different cashiers, you're not taxed on it. I'm really interested in finding out why he would have to pay any taxes on his winnings. You guys are doing a great job. I plan on calling back. Thank you. It's Tom from Connecticut.
Okay, good. This is a good question, Tom. So yeah, let's go through this because it can be a little confusing. But we're basically talking about 2 different things here, 2 different forms, a W-2G and a currency transaction report called a CTR. They're 2 different things. Right? Now, W-2Gs are the forms that you get when you have certain big wins at the casino. Like if you're on a slot machine and you win $1,200 or more.
Yeah, they're mostly slot machines.
Right. Rarely are you given a W-2G at a table game because they only issue W-2Gs at table games when the winnings on a bet are at least 300 times the original wager and the amount being paid is $600 or more. So the only time that's going to be the case at a table game is when you're playing some kind of side bet. Right. So, Mike, the only times that you have ever gotten a W-2G at a table game is when you've won the fire bet.
Right. The 6 fire bet.
The 6 on the fire. Exactly. Because in those cases, it falls under those 2 requirements. At least 300 to 1, and it's $600 or more. Okay, so you could be at a table, blackjack table, craps table, wherever. If you win $50,000 and you're just playing all the regular bets, no, they will not give you a W-2G.
No, you do not get one.
Right? Because the highest payout on the craps table, 30 to 1 on hot bets.
Right.
The highest bet at a blackjack table, again, not counting side bets, 3 to 2. Right? So you can bet whatever. Or 6 yeah, damn you. Okay, so that is a W-2G. Now, CTRs, when you cash out at the cashier for $10,000 or more in cash, in other words, you're not paying off a marker, the casino must fill out a CTR. CTRs are sent to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network of the IRS, and they are to help prevent things like money laundering and terrorist financing, that kind of thing.
Right.
Okay. So
supposedly,
that is a requirement. Now, the big distinction here is a W-2G, yes, the IRS uses that to determine how much you owe in taxes. That's not the case for a CTR.
No, that has no bearing on your taxes.
Right. CTR, even though it's through the IRS, it's just so that they know if some big cash transaction is happening.
They're tracking multiple cash transactions.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, the casino is supposed to fill out a CTR if you cash in at a table for $10,000 or more in cash. Again, not getting a marker, right? But in cash. So the 2 different things. W-2G at a table, yes, that is taxable income. CTR is just so that they're trying to prevent crime. Now, Mike, when you work very closely with your accountant when you're doing taxes at the end of the year, so everything comes out in the wash.
It all gets washed out because the losses offset the wins.
Right. At least the last few years, certainly that's been the case.
Now, I mean, there might be a year where I win a ton and don't lose that much, and then I do have to declare. But usually I have enough losses to write those big wins off.
Let's say one more thing too, because Tom kind of alluded to this. If you were to do something like he suggested, where you've got, say, $18,000 that you need to cash out for, and you decide to go to one cashier and do $9,000 and go to another cashier later within the same day and do another $9,000, that's called structuring, and it's illegal.
Right.
You're deliberately trying to avoid having a CTR written against you.
Yeah.
So be very careful with that. It is illegal and it is a federal crime. We always joke on the show about how we're not lawyers and we're not accountants. Right. We really aren't. So, don't take everything that we're saying as gospel. Certainly check with, your professional.
And it might matter in where you are in the country too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's federal laws and then there's state laws and they never jive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for sure. One of the things that I find interesting is that they want to monitor this. Well, if you're like you and I and you go a lot, it's not unusual for us to cash out for like 7,000-8,000 one night and the next night cash out for 7,000-8,000. But we bought in for 5.
Yeah. See, that's the other thing too.
I mean, I didn't win 8,000. I won, 3,000. But
remember a few years back, Mike, we were playing at Wynn. I think we were staying at Wynn. And so we played there almost exclusively. And on the third day, every time I was buying in for $500. Every time.
Right.
And on the last day, I was buying in for $500. I always gave my card, of course. And they came around the table and said, Mr. Duvall, we need your Social Security number.
Yeah, they want your
Social
Security number. They've done that to me a million times.
And that's what it is. Maybe they're paranoid, I don't know, but they're trying to stay within the law about money laundering and that kind of thing.
Right. So. And I don't know how far that goes. They've asked me for mine a lot when I've, multiple times in a trip, I've cashed in for like 3,000 or 4,000. But it's the same 3,000 or 4,000, You buy in and then you go and cash out because you won a little, and then you buy back in again, a few hours later with another 3 or 4. It's so weird. It's I don't know what the government, how they track that or what they do with that information.
Yeah.
But it just, to me, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Well, folks, just try not to break the law.
Yeah.
I guess that's our
that
final
should be
thoughts.
a general rule for
That
everybody.
is a good rule.
Yeah, that way you avoid jail.
And
every day's a Thursday when you're in jail.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. Hey, we want to thank some people for some PayPal donations. First of all, recurring donations from Brian Dancer, also from Brian and Sarah, and from Joshua. Thank you very much. Also, we got a PayPal donation from Michael James. He says, I am heading out to Vegas for the Super Bowl festivities with my beautiful bride. But enough about me. This donation is specifically designated towards 2 general admission San Diego Sockers tickets. That's our indoor soccer team here, called the Sockers with SOCKERS. You've got Landon Donovan's services for 10 to 15 games. Time to pay for that honor. Thanks for the great content.
He signed with the soccer. Landon Donovan is probably the premier outdoor soccer player in the United States.
Oh, okay.
Now, he was on several World Cup teams, maybe considered one of the best soccer players America's ever produced.
Oh, very good. Okay.
He retired.
Yeah.
And he signed with the Sockers because he's from San Diego.
Oh, okay.
Now, the funny thing is, there was an article in today's paper. He was at practice, and he said how much he enjoyed it. He said he felt like he was 18 again.
Oh, that's great.
And he's older, and he had to retire for, he's just getting old. And our ex-neighbor, guy who used to live next door to us, is the assistant coach for the Sockers.
Oh, okay.
Has been for many years.
Well, indoor soccer is so much fun because it's a much smaller pitch.
It's very fast paced,
and you can play it off the wall. It's more like hockey. Actually, more
fast-paced.
Scoring than hockey, even.
Yeah,
so,
way more scoring. Yeah.
Also, a donation from David. I had a great time playing with you guys 2 weeks ago, and since Dr. Mike wouldn't take repayment for the generous winning bets he made for me, I figure a PayPal donation can't be refused. Hope to play more often with you guys. Oh, so I guess this PayPal donation specifically goes to you.
Yeah, well, I saw David this last weekend when you weren't there.
Yeah,
David was there, and we were talking. He didn't say he gave a PayPal donation.
There you go. Nice surprise.
But I made a bet, and it was just good timing, and it hit because he was being so patient.
Well, he came up in the middle of a roll, and it was this huge roll, and so he was just he wasn't buying in.
No,
and we felt bad because he was going to bet the 6 and 8, and these 6s and 8s. Just
he had money. He didn't want to throw money on the table,
right.
so I just took my chips and made bets for him. And then they hit, which was nice. Oh, David, hey, it was my pleasure that those hit.
Yeah, that was nice. And finally, a donation from Vinny. He says, "Thanks for everything you guys do." And Vinny is starting up a new podcast here soon that he's going to call 7 Out.
Nice.
So it's going to be craps related.
I hope it's good 7 Out.
Yeah, I know, really. Maybe it should be called Pay the Line.
Yeah, Pay the Line. Right? It's all, it's 7 out again. Hey, I'll tell you what, sometimes 7's a good number.
Yes, it is. Mike Mike's big new thing now is to hop the 7, all 7. So that's 3 separate bets where you're betting on each of the possible combinations of 7 on the dice, right? 1, 6,
I
2,
hop
5,
them on the
3,
come
4.
out only. On coming
On
out.
the come out, and then if it hits, he presses it. And what did you hit? You had a $600
I bet
one,
$30. It hit. I pressed to 90. $90 won.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that pays $390. And then I pressed it to 150, and that hit. That pays $650.
Yeah.
So then, of course, I went to 300. That hit pays $1,300.
Mm-hmm.
And then what could I do? I went to $600.
Right, which is the max,
Which
right?
is the max there. Yeah. And 7 came up. $2,600.
Fantastic.
Mark, I was on such a high. Everyone was like, oh, and then I left it out there because, I can't increase it.
Yeah, of course.
And then 6 came up.
Yeah. So, folks, that's Dr. Mike in a nutshell. I recommend not making this bet, but when you hear a story like that, what can I say?
It was so nice.
Hey, be sure to check out our TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. We update those listings every Wednesday using a customized program that searches through all the raw American TV data. Just go to youcanbetonthat.com/TV-listings. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS. Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat and on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. Finally, please go to your favorite podcast app and write a review on us. We love getting your feedback. What are you doing for the Super Bowl, Dr. Mike?
Well, I was just going to ask you, are you one of the 6.9 billion people that are rooting for the Rams?
See, here's
or
the
are
thing.
you the 0.1?
It is really one of those situations where I'm sure most of the country is rooting for the Rams. Now, I know there are plenty of rabid Patriots fans out there, right? So, I understand that. But it is one of those Super Bowls where the majority of the country, I think is going to be rooting
for
the
two
Rams.
reasons. Number one, people feel like, New England's won enough.
Sure,
and
that's always a factor. Right.
I've talked to people who said, I just want to see them lose twice in a row. I'd love to see, Belichick and Brady, the genius and the greatest quarterback ever, lose 2 Super Bowls in a row. And then, we're in Southern California, so there are a lot of Rams fans.
Yeah,
here.
a lot of Rams fans.
People that we talk to are Rams fans. Real quick story. Last night, pit boss out at Harris, Mark, who deals sometimes, was dealing.
Oh, okay.
And up on the TV, they had, ESPN2 or something, and they were replaying the Rams-Saints playoff game from the other day. Yeah. And it was at the beginning of the game when the Rams are actually losing. The Saints are up like 14-0. And then the Rams scored, and I turned to Mark, who's this huge Rams fan. I mean, he's a huge Rams fan.
Yep.
And I said, oh, look, it looks like the Rams are coming back. Maybe they'll cheat at the end and win this game. And he looked at me. And he's just like, I don't care what you call it. They don't put cheater on the ring. They just give you the ring.
Oh, that's great.
He's been getting so much grief all week from all the other dealers. Because he's such a diehard Rams fan.
Yeah.
So you can't help but rub it in.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they shouldn't be there. They don't deserve it. I'll tell you what, so many plays in a football game.
Yes, sure. You can't just put, I
know one play at the end can turn things, one bad call, but there's so many, why wasn't New Orleans up by 30 points? Then it wouldn't have mattered, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you can't.
I understand that. It's one thing to say, okay, if not for this certain play, it's another thing to say, if not for the refs. Right. You just hate for the refs to determine an outcome, right?
Yeah, well, they should suck their whistles up at the end of every close game.
Oh, okay.
They should just take them away. No refs. That's free for all at
last
the end.
minute.
Yeah.
Last minute, no penalties.
Overtime, no refs.
Overtime, no refs.
Overtime, no refs.
That might solve all of the NFL's problems.
To solve all their problems. Roger Goodell, overtime, no refs. They just leave. Yeah. No, we only play them for a game.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, we don't need any kind of monetary compensation. Just give us credit for coming up with that, or Mike credit for coming up with that.
Just credit every time the NFL has to say, and brought to you by Dr. Mike, overtime without refs.
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for listening.
Good night.
Mark, that was wonderful. I had no idea you were so talented. The audience is going to love you.